Hello everybody and welcome to day 22 of my casting everyday challenge. We're closing in on the 1 month period. We're on our third week. No, we just finished our third week, so we're on our fourth week now of casting, and I've been loving it. It's been a great job, and we're going back to the Amazon Coin Qualifier just because I want to be able to do more Hearthstone. I've been doing a lot of League of Legends, so heading back to Hearthstone, and we're going to be continuing on to that. I believe this is the semifinals of it, and it's going to be Torlk versus Myragut, and I realize it's Torlk. I can't pronounce it. I'm so sorry. Torlk. That L's throwing me off. Sorry, man. I might say Torlk or something, so it's not Torlk, because I know Torlk is really wrong. So, we did see Torlk beat Pavel, and that was a really exciting series. He did a great job. I believe beat him 3-0. Pavel wasn't able to do anything with his hand buff Paladin. And Myragut here beat Muzzy, I believe. So, with the bans, we do see completely different bans, and surprisingly enough, Myragut actually got a Hunter ban, which to me is surprising. I'm not actually sure why Hunter got banned out, but my guess is if they're able to see this, if this is streamed, maybe Torlk saw it and was like, oh wow, that's a really interesting deck, never saw it before, don't want to deal with it. I know the Priest, I know the Druid, I know the Shaman matchup, and I'm just going to play that. Or he was just so surprised by it, he just didn't want to deal with it. And Myragut did ban out the Priest and the Druid, leaving up both the Shaman and the Warrior, which I believe are two of the strongest decks right now. Granted, Druid and Priest are really strong right now, but because of that, we're going to see the Druid, Priest, and Shaman out from Myragut, and the Shaman, Warrior, and Warlock coming out from Torlk. And I believe Torlk definitely has a lot more of aggressive decks coming out here. If I remember correctly, that Warlock was discard lock. We'll have to see if it's still the same with that discard zoo or not. And the Priest and Druid for Myragut is pretty standard, I think, just Priest and Druid. So a lot more for the late game. Priest is very mid-range focused, wanting to play minions on curve and just being able to do that consistently. So Myragut has a large range of his decks, while Torlk is just very aggressive with all three of his decks. So we're just going to go ahead and start it right away.
Unfavored. I mean, most of these favorite things.
And I forgot again to mute. I can't tell you how many times I've done that. It's now 2 days in a row. So we're going to go into it very shortly, and let's see what the players decide to go with. Like I've said for the past couple of days when I've casted Hearthstone, is going with the first day is always interesting, because do you want to just get a quick win, or do you want to try to get a win with your weakest deck? So we're going to see a Warrior versus Priest matchup. And this is one of those, like, as long as the Priest could keep up with the Warrior, he should be fine. He has a lot of taunts, he has a lot of buffs in his deck, so he should be able to deal with it as long as he gets the right cards. Now, Torlk here having such great pickups coming out of here. He's going to be able to coin out N'Zoth's first mate too if he wants, but he's going to play it a little bit slower. He seems really excited. He really likes his hand right now, but he decides to keep the coin. He wants to play a little slower. Maybe he didn't want to play the N'Zoth's first mate because with that Fiery War Axe, he wants to put that on turn 2. He doesn't want to have that in his hand, so he's going to go ahead and apply as much pressure early on as he can. Now, when we see Myragut's hand right here, nothing really he could do. The only decision he has right now is if he wants to Shadow Word Pain the Buccaneer, and that's exactly what he's going to do. Just not allow him to buff that card up. So that's going to be 3 damage off the table now, as Torlk is going to hover over that Fiery War Axe. And good thing that he did that, because now he has a second one in his hand. So it would have been really wasteful to throw out that N'Zoth's first mate and get rid of that Rusty Hook right away. And he's going to coin out the upgrade so we get a free Corsair out. That looks huge now for Torlk. He's going to have a 4-3 weapon. He's going to have a good taunt out. He's going to have patches. Myragut now just starting to play on autopilot, just going to throw the Kabbalah on Priest and hoping that that could at least delay the damage a little bit, or at least clear down the line. So Torlk is going to have the first interesting choice here. He's going to go Steady Shot, no doubt, going that on the Sir Finley. But is he going to clear with the weapon, or is he just going to try to apply it all face? Of course, all the minions go face. You want to keep those alive, and he's going to go ahead and get rid of the Talon Priest. So 4 damage off the field, and this is looking good now for Myragut, as he's going to be able to at least taunt up for now and protect his board as much as he can. But at this time, Torlk has already done 12 damage, and that Mortal Strike looking good as well. He might be able to use it here, but he might just go ahead and choose to get rid of Patches and Sir Finley to try to keep the pressure, because you're wasting 2 damage, kind of, if you would use that Mortal Strike here. So he's just going to go ahead, play on curve, and deal a lot of damage to face, put his opponent down to 13. It's going to force Myragut to start using a lot of his heals. Now, with that Northshire Cleric, it's not really the greatest card that he could have got. He's going to go ahead and Power Word Shield that to try to get some sort of draw. he might go ahead and just use the whelp to put something down. He's not really looking for any dragon activators right now. The only thing that's going to hurt him is if he does draw another one of those taunt dragons or anything that he would need a dragon activator, because that's one good thing with the whelp. It's still a good activator. It's never a wait or a dead card in your hand. But this is just looking so good for Torlk, as he's just applying so much pressure. And we did say about a dragon activator card, and that is exactly what happened. He did draw a taunt, but he doesn't have any sort of dragon activation to make that have a taunt. So his only option right now is to just throw something down and hope that it sticks. But at only 9 damage, I believe that's going to be game, and Torlk is going to get it. Oh, wait, sorry. He was actually able to clear. I don't know why I thought it was going to be over, but with the amount of damage he has in his hand, it's still looking extremely good. He's going to be able to Mortal Strike, put his opponent down to 2 health with that Hero Power 2, with the Steady Shot. That is going to be game. I was right the first time around. Torlk is going to get the first game already with that Warrior, and in my opinion, that is why you ban Warrior. When you do get those cards, it's almost unstoppable, especially against something that's a little slower with the Priest, where you can't really do anything the first 2 turns, and it just showed that just 2 turns is really all that Warrior needs to start applying pressure, and Torlk was able to apply pressure the entire time, and that is why he was able to win this against Myragut. So as we go into the second game now, Torlk now does not have that Warrior anymore, so we won't see any more Pirates coming out that much. Now, actually, one thing to say, some Shamans do run a little bit of Pirates sometimes. They run the Buccaneer because of the Spirit Claws and the Jade Claws as well. We'll have to see what he's going to do, but it's going to be that Shaman versus Priest matchup. And this time around, we do see Myragut having a pretty good draw here. He has a 1, 2, 3 just in his hand with the coin going in for that Twilight Guardian. So great cards coming out from Myragut, but as well as Torlk, he has a lot of pressure here. He has a turn 1 and a turn 2 coming out with that Tunnel Trog and Totem Golem. And we'll have to see of what Myragut's able to do. He's going to easily, he's going to definitely throw out the... Oh, he's going to coin out the Agent. He wants to get that taunt out as soon as possible. So it looks like because he's going to just use that coin early, he doesn't really care about getting that Twilight Guarding. He wants to deal with this Tunnel Trog as quickly as possible. And it's going to probably work out for him in the long run, as this is going to delay quite a bit of damage. Now, is he just going to throw out another one as well, or is he going to try to throw it into the Trog and heal it? We'll have to find out. So Myragut actually getting the perfect draw with that Shadow Word Pain. That kind of made his choice for him. He's going to go ahead, use that on the Totem Golem, and probably go face now with his Councilman. Just looking so great for him already. Having some board presence to deal with the very early aggression that you would have out of the Shaman. But sadly, Torlk has yet another Totem Golem, so it's going to look a little bit bad for him, but we'll have to see what he's going to be able to do down the line. Now Myragut has a couple of options. Is he going to go ahead and use Power Word Shield on his taunt minion there, or is he going to go ahead and play the Councilman instead? Really, he gets draw no matter what. It's going to be 2 health towards it anyway. The only thing is, going only 2 health, it is going to die to both these cards next turn. So it might not be the best decision to do any of that. But he's going to use Power Word Shield, the 1 mana draw card to see what he can get, and he's going to throw out another Agent there. Sorry. So with that Agent, it's going to still delay so much damage coming in, and Torlk, on turn 5 now, hasn't been able to do really anything with this Shaman. Usually you want to be a little more aggressive with this Shaman, but he hasn't been able to. But he's able to buff up that Tunnel Trog quite a bit here, and he's going to go ahead and get rid of this. Great pickup, though, with the cards that he has now. Oh, it was buffed, so that's why. I was going to say why he didn't just throw the Trog, but I kind of forgot that he did buff that up. So now this is the interesting decision here by Myragut. He might just go ahead, throw out the Twilight Guardian, get that buff out right away, or he might go ahead and try to throw out maybe a Councilman and a Talon Priest, but it really doesn't put up really anything against the board. It could easily be cleared. So I think at this turn it is going to be the Twilight Guardian. Now, looking at that spell power on the board, he might be a little bit of afraid, because there's still the Hex out of the side of Torlk. There is a good amount of clearing, such as Lightning Strike or a Lightning Bolt, that could easily clear that Twilight Guardian. So he might be a little bit worried about what else could be in his hand. There's also Jade Lightning that could possibly be in there, and that puts it down to 1 health. So we'll have to see of what he's going to decide to do, and it looks like covering that, he's just going to throw out the Twilight Guardian. But it looks like he's actually going to go for Priest of the Feast, and I feel like that's just because it's a little bit of a... Oh, no, it's the same stat line. Still 3-6. Oh, there was no Dragon Activator. Oh, that's right. Okay, so that is why he didn't throw down the Twilight Guardian. I completely forgot that there was no dragons in his hand. I didn't even check to see if it was glowing. So without that Dragon Activator, there was no point of him throwing that down. But with that thing from below, Myragut is going to desperately try to look for a Shadow Word Pain to get rid of that. Or even a Dragonfire Potion would be great right here. If it's 5 mana or 6 mana, it might be 6 mana, so maybe not. He does get the Power Word Shield, so he still has an opportunity to grab it, but he's going to need to find something with that. He doesn't have a lot of draws to do it with either. I feel like this turn it is the Power Word Shield, just because you will be able to not only buff up the Power of the Feast, but you get some, or the Priest of the Feast, but you will also give yourself some health because of its passive, which is going to give him about 3 health here, I believe it is. Yep, 3. So we'll see it. Does he get anything on the draw? He's just going to get a Historian, the Nether Spite Historian, that is. And with that Twilight Guardian still in his hand, he will be able to get something good out of it. But he's actually going to decide to just get some card draw with these clerics. Get the double card draw. Actually, not too bad of an idea right here. He does realize that it is going to probably get dealt with immediately. But he'll at least be able to get those 2 card draws, which at this point he desperately need it. And with the Corruptor being picked up, that could really help him out. He needs something to deal with what's on the board, and that 3 damage clears almost everything right here. Or actually does clear off everything that is out right now. And Torlk right now just trying to go, I think he was trying to go for a Lightning Strike there, because it would have been able to hopefully clear the board for him. He's going to go ahead and Totem Golem, gets the Taunt Golem instead, so he is instead going to throw out that Manatee. He feels like it's safe enough to throw out, and just start trading. He's going to have a tough time going through that Taunt, but he does have the Corruptor if he wants to get rid of that Manatee, but it will leave up both of the 5-1 and the 3-1, and that's 8 damage I don't think he can take at this point. Now this is where it gets interesting for him. I don't feel like going for the Manatee Totem is going to be worth it, just because you are going to take 8 damage at least, depending on how he wants to trade, and we do see in the hand that he also has the Flame Tongue Totem, so that's not only 8 damage, that's going to be 14. No, that's math. That's wrong. That's 12 damage. Actually, it's going to be taken because it's +2. So that can be really rough if he just throws anything down. So what he's going to do right here, my best guess is he's going to try to go for the Historian, get himself a dragon for the Dragon Activator, and then throw out the Twilight Guardian to protect his face. So personally, that is what I would do, because no matter what dragon you pick up, it could be a Ysera or a black, or even really anything. And it's going to be fine because you will at least be able to throw out that Twilight Guardian. I think Myragut is just trying to figure out what his best options out of this are. But because of he's taking so long, he's actually just going to go with the Blackwing Corruptor. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I would have really liked to see that Twilight Guardian come out with a taunt, but he doesn't want the card draw going over to Torlk. So he's playing more for a really late game right here. He doesn't want his opponent to get cards that could help him down the line. And the only thing is, with this Thunder Bluff, it's doing quite a bit of work already, buffing 3 of the things, 1 or 2 of them that could already attack. So that's going to be 12 damage going to his face, even without that Flame Tongue coming down. So not looking too good right now for Myragut. He needs something really desperate to start to clear the board right now. He's down at 15 health, and with his hand, it's not looking too good. He now has the Dragon Activator to use that Twilight Guardian with, but now being down to 15 health, I'm not sure if it's going to be maybe too little too late. If he would have drawn something well out of that Historian, he might have had maybe a 7 mana. Maybe even he would have had, what's the dragon called? Oh, I can't think of it. I think it's a 7 mana 6/6 taunt that deals 3 damage to everything. That would have been a great board clear if he would have had it. Sorry, I can't think of the name right now. But he's just going to go ahead and play a taunt down, buff it up as much as he can. He doesn't realize that his opponent has Hex, and this is right now a perfect Hex target. I believe is going to give him the game after this, so he will take a very, very commanding lead 2-0 after this one. And I feel like he just played that one little bit of a misstep, not playing for the early game. He took too much damage, and it happened 2 turns afterwards. He then did lose, and I feel like that was the play that he could have done to come back into it. I'm trying to think of what else, because yes, getting rid of that card draw is great against a Shaman. He only was able to draw that 1 card off of it when he played it. but it cost him so much health. It cost him 12 health the turn afterwards, and then just cost him the game after that. So I would have liked to see the taunt come out. Yes, we did see the Hex, but it still would have delayed him, made him play some sort of card, not allow him to play that Thunder Bluff and develop the board as he did. So that is the only thing that I would have changed. Now, it's a lot easier saying it from this end when we are able to see all the cards and able to play with, we have nothing to lose. So it's pretty easy on our end to say that. So maybe Myragut had a different strategy in mind. But now Myraguts going to switch it up, go to the Shaman, throw out the Spirit Claws as well. But he really doesn't have an activator through that besides a 0 power at this point. Torlk right now doesn't have the greatest of hands. He not only has the Doom Guard, which you really don't want to get early on, but he doesn't have any imps to make use of the discards that he could do. Now that Direwolf Alpha is always good to have, and he's going to be able to either go face 2 damage or just clear off that healing totem. But this will be a decision by Torlk that he decides to do. Picking up the Knife Juggler, he is going to go ahead and clear off the totem. Gives him now a less of a chance of drawing that spell power totem. So with a great pickup of the Feral Spirit, just going to use it right away and continue to clear off with these Spirit Claws. Now with another Direwolf coming out, he'll at least be able to trade with one of these Direwolves that are out. Now, or Spirit Wolf, sorry. A lot of wolves in this game. But is he going to want to maybe throw something out? Maybe he wants to go with the Darkshire Librarian. Maybe Knife Juggler into Darkshire. It gives you a 33% chance of going face and not being able to clear. So he's going to play it a little bit safe and just go ahead and clear first. Now, can he win the 1/3 shot? 33% chance. He gets it. So the Silver Golem will come out. And this is looking great for Torlk. He played his odds out there. And usually when that happens, it doesn't work for you. If you would have lost the Doom Guard, that would have been devastating. Losing the Knife Juggler would have been bad, but it wouldn't have been that horrible. So he played his odds on that one, realizing that he had one amazing outcome, one decent outcome, and one horrible outcome. And he played the 2/3 chance that he at least got a decent outcome with losing the Knife Juggler at the very worst. But coming out, that Doom Guard stays in his hand. He'll be able to use that down the line. And Sally, he doesn't really have anything to use with the Knife Juggler this turn. So he's going to have to clear out his Librarian and get the card draw as well. Picks up the Imp. That's a really good pickup for here, especially with having that Cancelman in his hand and the Knife Juggler. Both of them love Imp Gang Boss. Now, Myragut has an interesting decision here. Does he decide to Hex that Imp Gang Boss so it can't develop all these Imps? Or is he just going to hope for the best, maybe even throw out his barn, see what it could get him? But being at 4 mana on turn 5, I don't know if it's really all that worth it. But Myragutt's thinking hard, trying to think of what outcomes, trying to remember what's in his deck so that if anything works out, he could just throw out any card. So thinking of what a Shaman could have. It could be a Thunder Bluff, which could be pretty decent pickup. It could be anything with spell power, which is great with the Spirit Claws he has. It could be an Argent Horse Rider, which is not awful. It's only 1 attack off of what it would have been. And it's just going to be a minion that kind of sticks on the board and be's a little bit annoying. And the Knife Juggler won't be able to clear it as easily as it would have been if it would, let's just say, if that something with spell power came up, because it would have been just easily cleared off with this Knife Juggler, or even just right here with the Imp. Now, a little bit of a misplay coming out of here. He, in my opinion, should have played the Councilman before attacking with the Imp Gang Boss, just because that could be a 2/5 already on the Councilman. But because of the little bit of a misplay there, it's not going to look too good for him. I'm actually not sure why he played it in that way. Yeah, I'm not sure at all why he did that. And I think Torlk is he was holding his brow a little bit there, probably realizing of the mistake that he made instead of going that, because that 1 damage could be everything. We'll have to see if that 1 damage would have meant the game. So as we go by, we'll probably make counts of how much it would have done and how much of an impact it would have been. So, because if he gets spell power right now, it's going to be huge, but he doesn't. But because he has Flame Tongue, he would be able to clear off that Councilman. Actually, being at 5 mana, I'm surprised he just didn't Drake there. He would have buffed up his Spirit Claws and would have been able to deal with that Councilman really easily. Having those Flame Tongues, though, he could still clear it off extremely easily. But he also has that Lightning Storm, which will clear off the rest of the board as well. I feel like this turn you want a Lightning Storm and then throw Barnes into the Councilman. That is the best play in my opinion. It's going to give you the best outcomes. Oh, sorry. But he's going to hold on to it, a little greedy in my opinion, but with that Hex, he feels all right with going ahead and getting rid of that Councilman. So all in all, we said we'll see how much that ordering mattered. It did not matter at all as he just throws the Hex out. So that 1 damage wouldn't have done anything in this game. So now Torlk has the interesting decision here. I keep saying interesting. I gotta try to change that up. But he has the Dark Peddler as well as the Void Walker. But he's going to just go ahead and use the Doom Guard and just apply the pressure and go as much aggro as he can. It looks like he's actually going to clear with the Doom Guard. So he's playing more of a control-based Warlock here. But without any cards in his hand, he's going to have to hero tap a lot and hope he gets some imps or the Malchazar imp just to be able to do something down the line. Now, we did say that Myragut still has his Lightning Storm, and he still doesn't get that, whatchamacallit, that he needed. He needed another Spell Power Totem, but he does have Lightning Storm. He does have that Maelstrom Portal, so he could still clear off with those 2 cards. But he's actually just going to play a little bit more laid back. He's still trying to get as much as he can, as much value out of this. He wants as much Spell Power down, so we do see Torlk here, a little bit of a miss there on the cards. He's not going to be able to use his full mana to his potential. And at this point, as the Warlock, all he's going to want to do is just continually throw minions down and hope that they're able to stick. And I think this is what Myragut was realizing. He still has a good health total. He realizes his opponent has no cards, and he's kind of forced at this point to just throw cards out. And that's what's going to make the Lightning Storm and the Maelstrom Portal just much more impactful, because it's going to be able to clear out the board much more efficiently. So great use by Myragut here to be a little bit more cautious, or I guess more patient is the word I should probably think of, because he's going to be able to clear off quite a bit. Now he's probably going to go ahead and try to roll it again. He's been having really bad luck with his hero power so far, but again, 25% chance to run some spell power would really help him out in clearing the entire board. This will actually save him from using his Maelstrom Portal, because he could clear off everything with just his Lightning Storm and his Spirit Claws, but it looks like he's just going to go for it. With the mana, he wouldn't have enough to Totem Golem then, so I think he wants to try to do as much as he can in this turn as possible. And he high rolled on almost everything he needed to. Perfect usage of that. He's going to get the Doom Guard down to 1 health, and he's probably just going to throw out 2 golems he has on the right side of his hand. Throw them both down, clear with your weapon, and now Myragut, he's in the driver's seat. And Torlk at this point has to draw perfectly, especially even with his life taps. So Myragut now looking good in this matchup. Only gets a Void Walker. That's not what he's looking for. And a Flame Imp. Again, 2 bad cards. Draw is actually the worst ones he could have got. And that's going to be Torlk surrendering, realizing he's beat. He has no cards in his hand. He never got any of the Malchazar's Imps to kind of recycle his hand into new cards that would work out. So Torlk is going to pick up his first loss on that Warlock. So he's still looking for 1 win. He's going to be against a Druid and a Priest, but these are, again, mid-range to late-game decks, and if they could survive the early game against a Warlock, they should be able to win. And that's the thing about Discard Zoo, is that if you don't get a good card, if you don't get a good early game, if your minions aren't able to stick, if your opponent has good AoE, it kind of works against you. And one thing about the Priest is if he gets his Dragonfire Potion, that turns the entire game around, and he has a lot of taunts. He has a lot of ways to clear off the board. So the Twilight Whelp's going to go down because the Azure Drake pickup, it's still giving the Twilight Guardian some sort of Dragon Activator. So starting off with a 2-3 right away by Myragut is just looking bad for Torlk. He has no way to answer it, and he's just going to have to go ahead and play that Infested Villager, and it's not really going to do too much for him. Myragut now looking really good as he's going to throw that down. It's going to be cleared off, though, because we do see the Abusive Sergeant in the hand of Torlk. So that is going to be answered, but it's still costing Myragut a lot of tempo, a lot of damage. He's not able to really put anything on the board, and looks like he's going to play it a little bit differently. It looks like he's going to throw down the Imp Gang Boss and at least try to do a little bit more of an aggressive start so that Myragut is kind of forced to clear the ones that he doesn't want to. With the Talon Priest coming in, Torlk is going to have a tough time now. He has to deal with both of these minions. He does have some good minions in his hand, but nothing. He actually can't clear off the Whelp. He will be able to get rid of the whelp with the Direwolf and the Abusive Sergeant, so that deals with at least one of the minions. But we do see the Twilight Guardian coming up next, and that's just going to be really, really impactful. It's going to be really tough for Torlk to go past that. That's basically going to heal him for at least 6, quote-unquote. That's one thing about taunt minions, is you kind of think of it in the Zoo matchup as quote-unquote armor, because now your opponent can't go face anymore, and that's the one thing that you know that Warlocks love when they go Zoo, is they want to trade as little as possible. They want to go face as much, and they want their minions to stick. But with taunts, it's very hard to make your minions stick when you have to throw them into your opponent's minions. And with no pickup of spells such as Power Overwhelming or Soulfire, Torlk has no way to answer this. And again, we're still waiting for those imps to come out. We have yet to see a Maltazar imp out of the side of Torlk, and that is working against him at this point. He really needs that, and this is where a very difficult decision comes out of what minions does he want to try to throw into that Twilight Guardian to get rid of it, and there's really no good answer here. He has to throw the Direwolf if he wants to deal with it this turn, but it looks like he's just going to play passively, and this is just really hurting him. This is not allowing him to do the damage that he wants, not allowing him to go face and try to push his opponent to do the clearing. He is forced to do the trading himself, and that's always the worst case scenario for a Warlock. So this matchup is just looking really good for Myragut right from the get-go. And with that Dragonfire potion in hand, I feel like Myragut is perfectly fine with trading with the Talon Priest and then just allowing that whelp to stay on the board, because he realizes he has 2 dragons out now, and these are going to just do massive amounts of. Oh, actually, it'll stick around because the Dragonfire potion won't hurt him at all because it deals damage to all non-dragon creatures. And with Torlk not having any dragons in his deck, it's going to be really tough for him to do anything. Now, Myragut, again, playing a little bit safe, throwing out the 1 imp so that Torlk can't do anything to buff it up. Now, with the Soulfire pickup, that might be just what he needs. The only problem is he has to worry about what he does discard. If that Doomguard gets discarded, it's going to be devastating. Same thing with the Direwolf Alpha, actually, at this point. So he actually might not use that. Yeah, he's going to use that Direwolf to clear with the Imp Gang Boss and the Abusive Sergeant, and use the Soulfire this turn and hope he wins the 50-50 shot here. He doesn't. He loses the Doomguard, and that's just a lot of pressure now off from Torlk. He's not going to be able to go with that endgame burst that the Doomguard can bring you. Now, here comes Myragut's decision. The only spell he has that he could use at this turn is going to be that Dragonfire Potion. It's a little bit of a waste. It's not going to clear too much out, so he's just going to play the Priest of the Feast to have a minion stick. Now, picking up that Silverware Golem was a little late. We'll have to see if he draws the Soulfire, which would be kind of perfect right in here. Doesn't really grab what he needs. The Flame Imp is going to be pretty good, but that Soulfire would have been perfect. He would have been able to deal 4 damage and get that Silverware Golem out for free, but he'll at least be able to put out a pretty good board. Now, if he plays around Dragonfire Potion, is going to be an interesting thing to think about, because Torlk has to realize that his opponent might have been saving on it, so he's actually just going to clear as much as he can, just because to make that Dragonfire Potion not as worth it if Myragut decides to go with it. But since he's throwing everything down, I think this is almost an auto decision here by Myragut. Just get rid of his board and make it just really, really bad for him. All it'll leave up is going to be 1 imp, and with only having 1 card in Torlk's hand, there's nothing really he's going to be able to do with it. So Myragut could go ahead and play that. He could also just go ahead and play his Cleric, play his Showered Pain, but he's going to hold off onto it, make that Dragonfire Potion as impactful as possible, and once we see this Defender of Argus comes out, I'd be very shocked if he doesn't pull the trigger again. I was just kind of surprised he didn't use it last turn, but he's just trying to get as much value out of it as possible, and with this board, I feel like if Myragut holds off, it's going to be worse for him. He's trying to count his options right now, but I feel like at this point, you just want that Dragonfire to be used. He doesn't have any Dragon Activators for the other cards, so he is going to completely clear the board with this, leaving just an Imp up, and he's going to have enough mana to throw out a Cleric as well. So he played it a lot more patiently than I would have, But because of that, Torlk is going to be able to not only clear off that Cleric, but also throw down a Silver Golem. Is it going to be a little bit too late because we're already on turn 9? And there's still 18 health on the side of Myragut? It might be a little too late. So we'll have to see of what Myragut's going to do with this. If he draws a dragon, it's going to be huge. He just gets another Dragonfire Potion, which at this point is completely worth it because there is nothing Torlk can do. He has no cards. He's going to have to start consistently hero powering, and at this point of the game, the more he hero powers, the closer and closer he's going to get to 0, and it's just going to be bad for him. Now, picking up the Imp way too late, in my opinion. He should have picked it up way earlier. Well, granted, you really can't say of what you want to pick up, but that Imp is just not really doing anything this game. He didn't get the discards that he wants, so he got more card draw, and with that Shadow Word Pain and with that Ragnaros, it's just looking so good for Myragut. Doesn't matter, this goes face or clears off, it's going to be good for him regardless. And I think we saw from the animation that we do see a surrender coming out from Torlk, not the draws that he wanted, and just really good play by Myragut in the early game to force him to trade into those taunt minions, and that's just the Priest versus Warlock matchup. I'm actually kind of surprised that Warlock made it that far into the game. But that just shows us when you have the taunts available, it's just really tough to go through them as a Warlock. So we're going to go to our 5th and final game in this best of 5. This was Conquest mode, so every time you win with a deck, you're not allowed to use it anymore, and you just have to win with 3 different decks. I love this format. It makes it so much better that you... Because I remember the first Hearthstone tournament, it was basically just, you bring one really powerful deck that can't deal with it, you win. And that was really annoying because it was elimination mode, I think they called it. Now it's going to be, again, that late game. I believe it's going to be a Jade Druid versus Torlk's discard Zulok. And actually looking at Myragut, I can't tell if it's Jade Druid or if it's Malygos Druid. Again, still, they share a lot of the cards of like the Wrath, the Feral Rages, the Raven Idols. We're not able to see Myragut's cards of what he's going to get from that Raven Idol, so we don't even know if he went minion or spell yet. So this is one thing that we're going to have to see of what decisions he went. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes spell. Going spells is just really powerful in this matchup, and a little bit of a visual error, so we won't be able to see of what card he picked up for a little bit. Usually it jumps it to it, and yep, there we go. Oh, they're fixing it right now. This happens. Stuff like this does happen, so... we are just switching it over to Torlk Sense because we are able to see his hand, so might as well. So this is going to be... This is where it gets interesting now because you have to kind of cast of what you think his opponent has, what he could play around, and stuff like that. So being at 2 mana, I believe is what it is, and there we go. We switch right back. And seeing that Jade Idol, we now know it's Jade. But at this point, just use your hero power, clear off that Possessed Villager. That's a very... annoying minion that sticks very well, so you don't want to leave that up, and it also does buff that Councilman that could come out later. And speaking of which, we are going to see it come out. He is not afraid of what Myragut could do, because at this point, what can a Druid really do besides Feral Raging? He does draw the Jade Blossom, which is desperately needed in this point. He's going to be able to clear off that Councilman next turn no matter what. We'll at least see Torlk be able to buff it up a little bit. He is going to use the Imp King Boss, only buffing it up to a 2/5, and we will see that Feral Rage deal with it next turn. But that doesn't even goes that way. He could just play the Azure Drake, puts him on the board, but as you can see, he is not wanting that Councilman to stick. He's just going to go ahead, Feral Rage, Hero Power, 5 damage, it's out. I took 2 damage, but that's fine. It's better than taking 4 down the line, or 5, or who knows how high I could have went. Now, the Librarian hover right here by Torlk is going to be interesting. I feel like if he wants to throw the Librarian, he should throw the Imp down first. And he's realizing that now. He's actually going to play both of the Imps down, just so he doesn't lose the cards that he wanted to. Losing a Soulfire, losing a Peddler, in this case, is not the worst case scenario. That's a Soulfire gone. It could have been a lot worse, so... I'm really glad he went with that decision there to throw out those 1 mana cost minions out first, so he didn't waste his turn not being able to do really anything. And this is where Myragut has a decision. He could go ahead and clear stuff with his Wrath. He could go ahead with the Azure Drake, just put something on the board. He could even coin out an Arcane Giant right now, but that's a little slow pace for my likings. Or not coin, sorry, Innervate out. But I feel like... Azure Drake, see what you get, and Innervate Wrath is going to be the best choice right here. And it looks like that's what he's going to do. And he could also draw a card and get rid of that imp there. And it looks like that's exactly what he wants to do. Gets another Wild Growth. So I've been seeing a lot of Druids here go with Wild Growth and Jade Blossom. And the one thing I feel like that is because at least Wild Growth, like neither is a dead card at the end. It's not a great card to draw. Wild Growth at least gets you to use 2 spells and draw a card. It's great synergy with the Gadgets and Auctioneer as well. And the Jade Blossom will always summon the Jade. So even if you don't draw them to the end game, they're still useful. And I actually did not see what Torlk got. He got a Defender of Argus, so he's going to go ahead and buff those 2 minions. You always want to try to buff up the imp whenever you can, just to make your opponent go into it, meaning you get more imps, and that's always the greatest thing to do. So now Myragut kind of on the back side of things. Does he have to nourish here to just get draws, but it's going to be a dead turn. I feel like Wild Growthing and then using the Giant there is going to be the best play. It's still not a good play, but it's the best play with the cards he had. And now just looking at those draws by Torlk, it's looking so good for him. And we'll have to see what he gets off the Dark Peddler. If he gets any sort, if he gets a Soulfire, in my opinion, that's the perfect card to pick up at this point. But he might just go ahead and get it as another Imp. Runic Egg is an option, but I don't think there's enough AoE coming out from a Druid to warrant getting that. So if he would have got that Soulfire, it would have been great because he would have basically got a Silver War Golem for free. And he's going to go ahead and clear it all. You saw there that he did throw some minions into, or threw the 1 minion into it. It's because he didn't want the Imp Gang Boss to have wasted value. If he didn't do that, then the Imp Gang Boss wouldn't have room to summon an Imp when it got hit. So it would have been, like I said, wasted value. Now, Myragut, what is he going to do this time around? Does he want to throw down the Jade Spirit just to try to get more Jades and at least some board pressure? It's going to cost him a lot of health if he does that. Or he might go ahead and Living Roots and try to clear off of whatever he can. Get rid of, probably it's going to be that, Knife Juggler. Couldn't think of it. Wow. So he does get rid of the Knife Juggler, and he's also going to use the Jade Blossom to get something on the board, but this, again, looking pretty good for Torlk. He has, let's see, 4 plus 3, sorry. So he has 7 damage on the field already. If he's able to draw, let's see, a Power Overwhelming or something like that, the Doom Guard, just going to look so well for him. Go face, deal a lot of damage, and it's going to put Myragut in a really rough spot. He's actually going to clear off what he can as well. He did that just in case if he did get the Dream, which would have been the 2 Silver War Golems, he would have not been able to summon one. So that is why you saw him trade first. But he will summon at least one of those Silver War Golems, and then the rest are probably just going to go face now. And now being down to 7 health, Myragut needs something huge with this draw. Doesn't get it, so he's probably going to have to Drake here and hope for a swipe, hope for something to keep him in this game. I think Swipe or Pharaoh Rage are really the only 2 things that keep him in right now. He does get the Swipe, though. So he's still alive, I think. No, I think that's over, right? Even with the Swipe, yeah, it's over. So Myragut going to concede, and Torlk finally gets a win on that Warlock and will win. You even saw that. He had the biggest sigh of relief I've seen from a lot of players this time around. He knew that it was going to go down to the wire, and he did pick up that win. So good job by Torlk. Sorry, I'm butchering your name. Taking that win and moving on to the finals of the Amazon Coin Qualifier. Just great work all around. We did see Myragut there. He didn't go on the back foot. He didn't realize, okay, I'm losing. I'm just going to get tilted. I'm going to lose this game. Doesn't matter. He tried his best. He won 2 straight games. Granted, the Priest versus Warlock is heavily in Priest's favor, but he just wasn't able to find the win on that Druid. So Torlk able to move on. We'll probably see him coming up. Maybe in a week we'll be able to cast his games. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me on this day. Like always, if you want to leave a comment below, let me know what I could work on, or if you want to join me for any cast, Hearthstone, Overwatch, League of Legends, doesn't matter. If you want to teach me how to cast another game, maybe Counter-Strike or Battlerite, who knows what you guys want to teach me. I'm perfectly fine. I love casting new things. But anyway, thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you tomorrow.